This video is going to show you a Solar Flawless Prophecy dungeon during the last week before the loot pool changes. For those who just want to see that, and skip to the timestamps. Over there I can show you the setup, etc. So have you ever wanted to make a build in Destiny that revolves around multiple elements and multiple adverbs and verbs, right, in one whole class? Well, you can do that, and that's what I'm going to show you in this run. I'm not the founder of this, but it did inspire me to do something with it in a run, which is why you see in this video. I had to literally write down everything that I'm using in this because the amount of elements that I'm using is almost overwhelming. So these are the elements I'm using in one class. I'm using strand damage, severing damage, threadling / tangle damage, taken damage over time, blight damage, scorch, radiant, poison damage, which is different to the taken damage over time, volatile rounds, or vault shot, depending on my loadout, right? So we're using multiple elements, and all of this stuff stacks together. So is that, if that's got you interested, then I hope it has. So you need to get the artifact mods right first. So these are the mods I'm using. Right, I'm just going to point out the ones that are important. Obviously, you want this on when you're doing Solar Flawless Prophecy as well, because it's taken. Anyways, Killing Trigger. Radiant causes weapons to apply Scorch to unscorched combatants. Flint Striker. Rapid Solar Weapon precision hits and Rapid Solar Weapon final blows grant Radiant. So these two work together, right? We've then got Horde Shuttle. Damaging unraveled targets with a weapon occasionally spawns a Threadling. This is extra Threadling damage. We couldn't do Rays of Precision because you can only have 2 in the final column, and you need Solo Operative. You must have this on. Why would you not use it? It's a 15% damage bonus that stacks with everything, right? So the artifact mod is giving us a lot of solar and a bit of strand damage. We can then add to all that by using, obviously, Strand Warlock, but with Arcane Needle. It's the only melee ability we have, but it's ranged, right? So it states it does destructive strand matter damage and then unravels them. When they're unraveled, they turn into a tangle. But once you've done that, you've also have a chance to make a Threadling, right, with that because of the artifact mod. The aspects of fragments, we've got Weaver's Call, Threadling Rifts, and then we're using the Weaver's Trance setup, right, to hold your and consume your Shackle Grenade, all right, which creates a Suspend and Burst, right? We've got Thread of Isolation, that's the Severing, so we're doing Severing damage in with the Scorch and the Radiant with the Rapid Precision hits. This also stacks with that, right? Thread of Fury, Thread of Generation, Thread of Mind, that's what we're using. In terms of other sources of damage, we've got Wither Horde. This is, I mean, it's poison damage, but it's a taken weapon, isn't it? Basically. But this is damage over time. This stacks with Necrotic Grip, which also does damage over time, which is independent to what Wither Horde is. So these two stack together, right? This also works with your Arcane Needle melee ability. So this is adding to the elements, right? We then go to the Scorch variant, so we've got a solar weapon on to have our Radiant, but we've also got Heal Clip and Incandescent on that for survivability on the Pulse Rifle. This is really good. Then, to finish it all off, right, we're not finished. To finish it off, we've got Vault Shot, which is gonna, when you get it a hit on a boss, it's gonna give you 20% more damage, right? But I'll talk more about that in the run. But that's all of the elements to this, right? So there's a lot to it. Like I say, I'm not going to go over all of the stuff that I had on because there'll be dim links and there'll be information in the run. The final, just one last thing, instead of Vault Shot, we ran Destabilizing Rounds. So we swapped out a Vault Shot for a Volatile Rounds, which will stack with all this stuff that I've mentioned. So this is, like I say, a build to try to cover as much ground as possible in terms of elements in Destiny 2. So that was the setup I used. So in this run, we're going to do the opening encounter. I know that you can skip it, but because of the nature of the video, I didn't want to. Whilst I'm doing this opening encounter, I'm going to go over quickly of all the things, what they do, what I just mentioned. So the Arcane Needle unravels targets, creates a tangle, right? But it can also, if we're doing damage, create a Threadling. We have a Rift to also create Threadlings. If we get rapid precision hits with a weapon, any weapon, doesn't have to be a strand weapon, we sever the target. Right? We sever them, which is sort of like a strand debuff. Right? So we've got that. We've got the taken damage over time, which is Witherhoard. I'm sure we all know what Witherhoard does. Right? Which it is, it's not a point. There's no such thing as a poison element. Well, there is. It's via Necrotic Grip. But Witherhoard is a damage over time weapon, but I would say it's a taken weapon. I wouldn't say it's a poison weapon, but it is in the traditional sense because it does damage over time. But my point is that it's different damage to Necrotic Grip. They are two different things. But Necrotic Grip is classed as poison damage, but there's no such element in the game like there is Solar and Void and stuff like that. Right? So I just want to point out that there's two different types of poison damage with this. Then you've got the Scorch and the Radiant via the Artifact mod if you use a Solar weapon. We've got Heal Clip and Incandescent on that gun, right, which is going to synergize a little bit for us for survivability, because this build doesn't have any survivability, so we had to get it via a weapon. Then to finish off all of that, we have Volatile Rounds or Volt Shot, depending on our loadout. So this is like covering like a lot of different elements in the game, and I can tell you it's a lot of fun. It actually makes me think about, if you look at other MMOs, right, your traditional RPGs, your traditional online MMOs, once you've mastered an ability, you can have a crossover ability to a new class. What about adding something like that for Destiny, where you're allowed to have one crossover ability from one other class at a cost of a very, very rare endgame material? Because they're already showing us this via a weapon. Buried Bloodline giving you Devour on any class, right? Or Karnstein Armlets with a Glaive giving you Restoration on any element. Do you understand that this is like beyond 3.0 subclasses? This is like sort of having crossover abilities. I'm saying that that's what they could do if they wanted to really, really go the build route. Because they have went the build route, right? But there's other games that make builds better than Destiny, in my opinion. Warframe does this better. Builds are just better. But having played this, I was like, man, if there was more viability with this, if there was more options to combine elements together to make new elements and add extra damage, then it would be an incentive to get as many elements and adverbs and verbs in your subclass as possible. But there is no such system. But I'm saying that eventually that they should do that. That's a way of making the system. Then you can truly say, right, I've got a build on now. I'm not just putting stuff together. No, I actually have a build. An actual build with actual ad clear potential, with actual means of making plays, and not just relying on sort of the meta all the time and certain weapons all the time. So with this first boss fight, obviously it's a circular domed area, right? It's very easy to fall off. That's why the sword's really good. Sword's really good for damage. Lament's going to do really good in this. Fallen Guillotine's going to do good in this. All those sort of weapons. This is not a meta run, which I am going to do a meta run. This isn't a meta run. This is to show you a different way of playing the game. Which, like, we haven't got infinite restoration, so this isn't going to be as easy as what that would be. But we have got a heal clip pulse rifle, which, when we need that to proc, it comes in really handy. I didn't realise how good heal clip was. This solar pulse rifle, which is from this season, from Starcrossed, I believe you can get a red every week, or just handing engrams to focus. This, I believe, is better than Battler. Now, that's quite a bit of a claim, because a lot of people love Battler. I kind of like it, but when they changed it the way it was, I don't like it as much now. But this gun's better than Battler. Right, if you have a build, like say Stasis Warlock, that has no survivability, like it's got turrets, yeah, but it's got no healing, you just put on this solar pulse rifle, and you can heal yourself. If you exclusively use it, you're healing yourself quite a lot. Now, for the scions for each wave, try and focus on your Witherhoard shots and getting your damage over time going in, because this will spread out to the scions to kill them. The mechanics are very simple, dark and light. If you kill a knight in the light zone, then you get light modes. If you kill him in the shadows, you get dark. This is pretty straightforward. What's not straightforward is where you stand, what you do, and where you move. It's a circular domed arena, why would you not realize that you need to do map rotation? Run and gun. That's the name of this fight. You want armor charges stacked with siphons. I've got 4. I recommend that you have 4 armor charges and you do a surge switch for increased damage to make sure and ensure that you get a solo 1 phase, because you don't want a solo 2 phase. Not on a boss like this. You get 45 minutes, 45 seconds to DPS his boss. You should be solo 1 phase, and definitely. And like I say, I'm using this sword here. It's a caster frame sword, this, which is brand new. People saw it and sort of dismissed it immediately, which I looked at it and thought, okay, you can actually get a lot of volatile. This would be good on a Void Walker, right? But it's also sort of good on anything, and they're going to buff caster frame swords, I believe. So look at this. We get volatile rounds to proc with the strand doing the insane ag clear so that the boss doesn't get tangled. We keep doing Witherhoard plus Necrotic Grip, which does stack together, and just keep swording him. We couldn't get Radiant because he's just a nightmare to when we're proccing our when we're trying to get precision hits. He just keeps doing his shield over and over, so he's an annoying boss to get crits. That's why you want to favour things like shotguns, Witherhoard, fusion rifles, swords, stuff like that. But you can linear him to death. You can even do rockets. So I'm going to speed up this little bit because this is the Wasteland section, right? I'll just go over the mechanics for people who aren't aware but should know this. This is real basics. It's a wide open area. It's randomized where you get 3 sets of blights. You need to jump up in the air and establish where the first set of blights are. I've equipped Bastion, which one-shots the blights, so I'm going to just run around the map and do that. I recommend for people, though, just kill the snipers first, then do this. Look at Heal Clip healing me there. Just kill the snipers first, then go for blights. If you're not speedrunning. If you're speedrunning, then you know that Black Talon and Bastion are the strats. You know what to do with that. Well, Black Talon wouldn't be the strat because they want Eager Edge Sword, so they use Bastion to one-shot Blight, and then they switch to an Eager Edge Sword to do all that stuff, or, you know, Well Skate and stuff. They do all that. Right, in this run I'm not doing that stuff. Unpopular opinion, but I don't care about movement tech in Destiny. And I know people do, and I've seen people like, oh, it changes the way you play if you use Eager Edge. I don't think that. I don't think that at all. I don't think that at all. I think that's just you messing around playing the game. I don't think that's you being really serious. If you're somebody that's speedrunning and stuff like that and you are uploading to speedrun.com, right, which I believe that to be probably 2% of you, right, then Eager Edge applies to you. If you do not upload to speedrun.com, you don't need to use that Eager Edge sword. What are you doing? Unless you're uploading to YouTube, unless you're doing speedruns and actually have them documented by another person to be verified as a world record or as a good time, then you don't need to use Eager Edge. Yeah, you can use Eager Edge to have fun. I know that. But like people who say like, oh, it changes the way you play in the game. No, it doesn't. It means that when you're solo, you have a rubbish sword to deal damage with. Now, if you're on a Strand Titan, this doesn't matter because you're dealing damage by your abilities. But for the most players, this is such a huge thing. Don't use an Eager Edge sword. You're going to lose so much damage if you do such things. Right? So, I mean, if it's something that you speedrun that's easy enough that you don't need a good heavy, then it's probably because the activity that you speedrun is easy. So with the cube room, my philosophy with this section, right, because back in the day, this used to be a part where people could wipe. You need to follow a routine. You need to first understand the enemy spawns. The enemy spawns are 2 snipers spawn in as the plate starts. The orb, you can see Toland up there. There's 4 dials on the walls, right? He will hover on a side of the wall, a face of the wall, and then it'll tell you if you need dark or light. You need to first kill the 2 snipers. This spawns in the knights, right? But while that's going on, you have an acolyte wave spawning. Now, if you leave the acolytes up, they'll keep doing their eyes, so they get more dangerous. So you need to do it like this. So step 1, look for Toland. Step 2, kill 2 snipers, right? Do that. you've established what orb you need. So I think in this case it was dark, right? This room has a lot of cover. Now it's randomized which room you come to, right? But I actually know each room. It's actually one room just flipped. I'm sure we all know this. It's just a room that's flipped. But I know that how each room interacts for cover. Like this room in particular is really good. Look at how much cover I've got. So much cover. Right? But some other rooms haven't got as much cover. Some rooms are more favourable to dark than light. So it's just that just comes with experience. But for somebody first time playing this, I can guarantee you that you're probably going to die in this section if you don't know, or if you say not using infinite restoration, easy mode. If you're not going easy mode, and you run say like Stasis Titan with no survivability at all, you're probably going to die because you're not going to know the rooms. So you need to, as I say, establish. You need to have some practice with it. But I mean, Prophecy's been out quite a while, so I feel as though like people are going to sort of be aware of. Most people should be aware of how this dungeon works. So we're focusing mainly on doing damage over time. Whenever we need like dark and stuff, we'll stick at night and then run to dark. That's the beauty. Heal clip heals us there. Did you see that? So we were multitasking. We let Witherhoard kill night and then started to focus the mini ads to proc heal clip to survive. Lest we would have died there. This build, although it is good and it does cover a lot of different elements, it doesn't have the survivability that say Stag has, or say Controverse holds on a Warlock with Devour. There's no restoration, there's no healing, there's none of that. There's Woven Mail. I didn't even use Woven Mail, by the way, because I didn't need it. But there's so this build I needed to add some sort of healing to it, because I can't just rely on a healing rift. Although I am getting plenty of rifts with my setup, I still need some, and that's where the pulse comes in, right? So we will stick, our knights. We'll sometimes use the pulse on the knight, and it melts because we activate we activate Severin, Scorch, and Radiant when we're just using our primary to kill a knight. So it really is good. We'll use super when we need to. Sometimes I'll do that, like if I see things are being awkward. Snipers, you've got to be careful. Use your movement. Use the moat, right, to avoid them. Keep swinging with it. This will mean that you will avoid the sniper shots. I actually haven't even got the right resistance on. The right resistance on for this, technically speaking, is 1 void resist, 1 sniper resist, and a concussive dampener. I didn't use any of that because, quite simply, I didn't need it. But for other people, you might need to have a specific build for this, just to make sure that you're good, because the snipers, there's a lot of arc in this as well. So you could do that. You maybe could do void resist and then an arc resist and then concussive dampener. Soul is a worry as well, or used to be, not as much now with the knights. So those are the resistances I recommend if you're struggling. If you're on infinite restoration, though, it doesn't matter. You could run this with tier 0 resilience and be fine. Seriously, that's how broken restoration is at the minute. So, but like I said, when you start to open your mind and you start to use some class that has other things going for it, but restoration's not its key factor, then you've got to start playing it properly, the activity. You've got to realize, right, how do I actually play this like properly? I know how to, because obviously I've played it since it came out, this particular dungeon. So I've got that experience. So this is where we sort of mess up. So you see, look at this. We are low on health. We have no healing rift. So this is an example of this build actually not... we get a healing rift there, though, from our strand abilities. So that works out. So it was good. It was good play in knowing that something bad was about to happen. I could tell that it was already going to happen. The sniper spawn was awkward. I couldn't see one of them. So that 2 or 3 seconds of me not messing around, but trying to figure out where that second sniper was, cost me to be out of position. And then also, I took a glance at my rift energy. Oh, I'm only 80%. Uh-oh. I might die here. Right? So that's where knowing things in advance, knowing that something bad's going to happen, it's knowing that you're probably starting to be in a bad position, breaking it down, breaking the encounter down by its guts on a fucking micro level of knowing exactly how to play it on any element possible. Okay? It's one thing to just know how to play this on Void. It's one thing to know how to just play this on Solar. But then it's another thing to know how to play. What about playing it with no element? Have you ever thought about that? All these people do, runs with the best builds. What about doing it with no build? Because you can do that, by the way. You can deselect all fragments and aspects and just do a run with nothing other than your weapons. People back in the day used to do runs like no gun runs. That's not such a thing nowadays. I don't know why, because we have more ability spam than ever. But that was a very famous thing with the no guns runs. So completing a solo with or anything with no guns. It was a category within Destiny 2. You don't see that nowadays, but that was something that people do. But it's funny now because the actual more difficult category would be guns only run. The run would consist of you not using any abilities at all, and I mean even rifts. I mean even class abilities, supers and stuff. Obviously no one plays like that, but people want to show off with runs. Do a no guns run then. No abilities allowed to be used in your run. See how that goes. Then you would have to then think of your encounter, of each encounter. Well then how is this actually meant to be played if I don't have said abilities? So with the Rainbow Road section I've sped it up, but be careful because you can easily lose your Solar Flawless here. There's two different routes to take when you get to a crossroads. I'm going to point it exactly out when that happens. There's an easy way and there's a more difficult way. The easier way is slower, so here's the crossroads. I jump up here. The reason being is because the ribbons that you travel your Sparrow on, they sort of intertwine on themselves and you can fall off. Right? So use the stepping stones. I think it's better. But if you know what you're doing, take the other route. Or if you want, Sparrow Fly, Titan Sword Fly, Well Skate, Void Skate, whatever skate you want to do. Get your skateboard out, get your skimmer out and do a skimmer skate. Right? Because we know that people are obsessed with movement tech in Destiny 2 and they're going to figure that stuff out when that skimmer comes out. I say let them. I'm not bothered about it. Like I said to you, I'm not bothered about movement tech at all. I like more boots on the ground gameplay anyways. Right? I like fast-paced gameplay. I do like fast-paced gameplay, but I don't like playing Sonic 2 on Sega. I like to just play, an adult game, first-person shooter, with guns taking focal point, with some abilities mixed in. Look at this. So we activate Weaver's Trance, then Incandescent procs with all of that. Spreading out the Suspend and Burst. Right, I haven't actually got to use this gameplay loop too much. Right, so instead of using your Shackle Nade, you just consume it to get Weaver's Trance and then go ham with the Pulse. You will then keep healing yourself with Heal Clip and Incandescent whilst spreading out the suspensions whilst giving you Rift energy because of an aspect we have on Strand, Warlock. So literally insane synergy. It will, if you're up against tanky targets, you're going to also sever them. You might get a Threadling and you're going to unravel them. And then you can then fire in an Arcane Needle with Necrotic Grip and do some poison damage with it. It's absolutely insane, this build. Like I said, I want you to open your mind. I want you to use this. This is the first time, I think, in ever, where I'm like telling people, right, I want you to use this build. Go and use it and come back and see what you can do with it. I want to see if anyone can create a build with more adverbs than what I did. Right? I want to see if you can. So open your mind, see how much adverbs and elements you can get in one build. And post your comment down below saying that I got this, I done that. Because I could add Fellwinter's Helm to this. Right? So we could do poison damage with Necrotic Grip and then swap to Fellwinter's Helm, get a finisher kill, debuff boss, and then do stuff like that. be crazy players. It'd be very difficult to pull off. The skill ceiling on it would be really high, but like I say, there's things, ways and means. We could add a tractor cannon instead and take the vault shot off. So we're adding suppression to the setup. We would therefore then lose Witherhoard though, so that would be a thing. But then you could add things like Chill Clip in the kinetic slot with stasis fusions. So I could go Kill Clip, the solar pulse rifle, and then tractor cannon. Right now we've just created something new. Adding stasis to the mix, and then start adding some of the stasis artifact mods. So with the Kell Echo room, there's 3 copies of him. When you start the fight, it's difficult at the start. Well, it's not that it's difficult, it's just that there's urgency to get your first motes banked. I can't stress enough. Because this is when it's most threatening to you, because the copies of Kell Echo can hit you in all directions. So within 1 healing rift, you want to have killed both knights. Super if you wish. If you really want, in actual fact, super. By all means, go and do that. Because you're going to get your super back for DPS anyways. And if you don't, you can farm the scions up. It's such a simple strat. So if you want, lead with a super. And then just start killing everything. Because that way you're going to get your mods super quick. You'll get your first bank, and that clears a third of the room clear. It means that you have a safe zone to go back to. You have a safe zone to go back to. So we jumped super quick. The build was so good. We've done that really quick. Alright, we're going to do a surge switch. We've got 3 armor charges, which is good enough. So we're going to try and commentate this damage. It's going to be really hard. So we start with taking damage, poison damage with Arcane Needle, super. Try and get Radiant. It's not going on because the boss is being awkward for us. He's done 1 teleport. After 1 teleport, add spawn in. We're going to do some Witherhoard damage. We're going to try and get Vault Shot to proc. We've got 1 kill. We need to get a reload. Wait for boss to TP. Or teleport. Hit him with the Vault Shot. Now he's got Vault attached. Then we'll hit him with poison damage or Witherhoard damage. He's stuck. Right, we're then going to go to the next transition of snipers. Always play ahead of the boss. I've always said this for years. We missed a shot there. That's unfortunate. We'll get a Vault Shot procced. Then back to Witherhoard. A Shackle. Right, to get some strand matter damage there. And now he's stuck. We're doing damage over time. We're out of position a little bit, so we're going to need Heal Clip. So we get Heal Clip procced. Very good. So good, Heal Clip. I can't tell you how excited I am about this pulse rifle. It's really good, and it's my archetype of pulse as well, right? So now we're on the final platform, but look at our super energy. We just supered him. So we're going to super again on the final. This is how you can solo 1 phase, by the way, on a solar subclass with Revitalize and Blast. This is why solo 1 phase on Kell Echo is so easy this season because of this. Because you can super him twice with a Revitalize and Debuff Blast super. Now I'm on strand, and that damage, by the way, what I've did is probably playful. It's probably 7 out of 10 because I was messing around with Vault Shot, trying to show you the damage and what you can do. So I messed around a little bit, but look, it's an easy solo 2 phase still because of Solo Operator. But you imagine on a solo subclass, which we're going to do a meta run, it's an easy solo 1 cycle. Well, not easy, but doable for most, as long as you super on plate 1 and you super at the end. For example, a Blade Barrage Hunter, right, with Shards of Galanor, you might be able to super 3 times. God knows. I want to come in on the Soul Hunter. And on a Daybreak Dawn Chorus Warlock, you super him twice, and it's massive damage. So good damage that you're melting him, because ability damage is buffed. Remember, your ability damage to taking enemies and scoring enemies is buffed this season, which is a huge mod. Anyways, the next room that you get is random. Now, the room I got looks like it's a bad room, but I'm here to tell you it's not. Because if you get light in this room, it looks like there's no light. Well, there is. On the rafters, on the structure in mid, right, I can easily get light mods. But if it's 3 dark, if you do get 3 dark in this room, then it's RNG's blessed you. Right, that means that it's really easy. But if you do get light, no problem. Just stand up top, use Witherhoard to then kill your knight. Like I say, Necrotic Grip does stack with Witherheart, so you're doing two different types of poison damage, so we're melting ogres and stuff. It's just a shame, like I was thinking, why there's no way of getting heals via poison damage in the game at all. Which made me think, like, strand damage should have just been a poison subclass, right? I feel as though we should have just had a poison damage. I mean, it sort of does damage over time, doesn't it? Strand, in some senses, right? With the Weaver's Trance and then the Ravelin and the Severin, it kind of does, but not in the traditional sense that Necrotic Grip does poison damage. But I feel as though like this game should just have a poison element in it. Right? Most games do. I don't know why we don't. Like an actual fully fledged enemies that do poison to you, right? With poison shields, and there's actual poison energy weapons to equip. Poison trace rifles, poison hand cannons, like with perks and stuff. Make a new element with Final Shape. A lot of people are wanting a new subclass. Well, if you know, but obviously it's the red subclass that they've leaked. But that's being said to say that we're not getting a subclass with Final Shape, a new one, which has disappointed a lot of people. But we'll just see what that brings. I'm just saying it's a shame because we do have poison damage. It's via Necrotic Grips, but it's only viable. It's only viable on a Warlock. No other class has access to it, apart from Witherheart. So we're going to get our armor charges. We could go for DPS, but we're going to get some armor charges. The boss is just above a quarter, so we're going to easily kill him here. But I'm just going to get my surges anyways, right? My armor charges. So make sure that you have your healthy finisher build and your surge switch build that I've explained numerous times. I feel as though I have to keep explaining that because people still don't do the surge switching or they don't understand it. I don't know why you don't understand it. It's really straightforward. You just use your loadout menu. That's all you're doing. So we'll lead with super and poison damage. Right, so two types of poison damage and then strand damage. Trying to get Scorch on him. Right, but he just keeps flinching. His head just keeps bobbing around. So that was one criticism to my run is I didn't proc my Radiant when I should have done. But don't take it away from the pulse rifle. That's my fault. Okay? It was my fault that I didn't proc Scorch. It's not the pulse rifle's fault. Don't blame the pulse. The pulse is fantastic. Make sure that you craft this pulse. I should probably do a crafting video on some guns because there's some guns that have come out that are like really like game changing, and this pulse is seriously in GM's alright. It's not going to be as good, right? Because pulse rifles just need a buff, don't they? In general, they just need to buff pulse rifle damage in PvE. Give them a good chunk, give them a good 20% buff, and then you start to see people using them. So this boss is done. We're not going to play ahead of the boss because the boss is done, right? So that was a solo flawless on this using a very, very unique build. I hope you enjoy. Thank you.